Hey, let's hit this one piece real quick because we're talking about young quarterbacks, and it makes me want to talk about team building a little bit. Because so often we see teams talking about building for the long haul. And I'm going to seem like I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth right now, but I'm talking about two different types of teams. When I'm talking about teams with young quarterbacks, they're usually rebuilding, right? Young team, you're in a rebuilding process. But let's talk about team building at the high end. We have teams who are always looking to build for the future, prepare for tomorrow. But if you don't win today, there is no tomorrow, and somebody takes your talent and they win with it. And I think it's now becoming so apparent because with Tom Brady leaving New England, and as Wickersham's book is about to come out, we're getting excerpts, and what we're seeing is, Brady left because he wasn't getting say so. He's like, hold on, I'm taking pay cuts, but where's the money going? You're telling me to take less, but you're not even telling me who to spend some of the money on. I think I kind of know what works for me. Then you see Aaron Rodgers, who's pitched to fit all off season. Like, hey man, I deserve to have some say so around here. Yeah. Russell Wilson doing the same thing. And I think it really hit those two.
These are guys that know because they've won.
They've won. They're Super Bowl guys. And you get Brady. And you got Tampa Bay, who's all in on Brady right now. Let's do what we can to win right now while we have
whatever
Tom Brady.
Want. He's like, okay, go. He's like, trade for Gronk because he'll come out of retirement if you get him. Get AB. I liked him. He's a productive member. I don't think that under my leadership, we're not going to have the issues that you did. Haven't heard a peep from AB.
And think about this one too. Look at the Rams. Like Sam Kroenke's just saying, hey, let's need Sean McVay. What do you want? I'll write the check. Like, who trades your first overall pick, who you re-sign to a long-term deal, and say, hey, you know what? He's not good enough. We can get Matt Stafford. He's better. Most teams won't do that. They go, well, no.
Do that.
True. And they make that trade. Why? Because they're like, let's win now. Oh, Jalen Ramsey's disgruntled in Jacksonville? Okay. We'll trade you some ones, and we'll pay for him. And we'll pay him. Why? Because I think we talked about this in the group text, and it happened during the James Harden trade. I'm like, why are you trading James Harden for all these no-name number one picks that you're like never going that won't be James Harden when you can get the proven commodity that is Ben Simmons? Like, take the proven commodity when you can get the proven commodity. I would take DeAndre Hopkins any day over any second-round pick coming out of the draft.
But the issue with that one was the Sixers weren't going to do that deal. That was just it. They didn't want to do the deal. They didn't want to, which is just I know that Morey wanted to do the deal, but they didn't want to do the deal. Ownership. I don't know how Elton Brand felt, but
it doesn't matter how Elton Brand feels. He just gets a paycheck now.
I would have gotten Ben Simmons, and now look at it. It's biting him in the ass. You're losing to Atlanta twice at home in the playoffs in the second round where you live. And you brought in the second round's daddy, fucking Doc Rivers. You know what I mean? It kind of wrote itself. I hit big too on that game, betting on the Hawks, and it was a big parlay.
So if you're running a team, Pierce, and you have an established quarterback, are you putting all your chips in every year to try to win right now? Or are you going to try to build a dynasty?
I think that it just depends on the state of the team. I mean, you want a dynasty, of course, right? Everybody wants that. How often do those come around? Not very often. New England is obviously the exception, I think, across all sports in how successful a team could be, within certainly a 20-year span. And now we're in this age where quarterbacks can play longer. So nobody expects you to play that long. The typical prime used to be, or not even prime, but a run for a quarterback's 12 to 15 years max. Scott Brady put in 20 years. He looked like Kobe Bryant with the pay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to do that type of stuff. And so to me, if I'm building a team, it depends on the situation I'm taking over as I come in as a GM. What is the situation? Everything's got to be tailor-made. I would lean towards your quarterback. If your quarterback is a bona fide Hall of Famer, like the guys you just mentioned.
Brian Gutekunst gets fired tomorrow. You get the phone call. What you doing?
Well, you said who?
Brian Gutekunst gets fired tomorrow. They bring you in. Packers.
So they're in a position kind of where you look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers. He's making what 35 at least, and then he probably wants to get paid more. Um, and then you look at the skill position players. They've already paid Aaron Jones, and now Devontae Adams is the one that's up for the deal. They're in a tough position. I personally think that, like Aaron Rodgers has said, this is the last dance. I don't think that they're going to have the money to make that team any better. And I say that from a standpoint of, well, hell, there's a lot of offenses that can score points. There are. You can't. It's going to be hard to win that way. You're going to have at least some young guys on the defense that outperform their rookie contracts. And I'm talking that deep dive drafting. We're talking that 5th round, that 4th round, that 6th round. We got to get attention out of somebody there. And that's why, and I hate to always bring the Falcons in, but this is a Falcons apologist podcast as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it is.
That's why the Super Bowl team was so good with the Falcons, because you know why? They had 5 rookies, 5 on that starting defense. There's only 11 men on the field. They had 5 fucking rookies. So what does that tell you? They didn't draft rookie 1 through 5.
No.
Brian Poole, starting slot corner, your nickel corner, undrafted. Grady Jarrett, the record holder for most sacks in a Super Bowl, 5th round. They found value, and I'll give DQ that, and that's why the Cowboys' defense is fast and physical now too. He's able to, and they did use their first 6 picks on nothing but defense. He's able to find these guys that are going to bring it in. Keanu Neal. You know what I mean?
He's a linebacker now.
A lot of people, well, now he is, but a lot of people thought, man, that's a reach at 18. That's a reach. Like, Florida guy, so we know he's pretty good because Florida gets nothing but the top talent. DQ was already familiar with him. It was his guy. You got to be able to find that value. And for him, it felt like a reach to a lot of people, but it worked out. Kiki was good here when he was healthy.
Yeah, he was. I appreciate him.
And that's kind of going to have to be one of those things that the Packers do. If you feel good in yourself as a talent evaluator, you can build around that team, because Aaron Jones, to me, is a top 5 dual threat back. He can catch, obviously, helped you win a fantasy game off of it alone.
I'm telling you, he's going to carry me this season.
He's a pretty good running back. The offensive line isn't terrible. I know Bakhtiari is out still, but and that's your linchpin on that line. But you got him. Obviously, Rodgers can get it done in the air, even with just one true dog of a receiver. He makes guys like Valdez-Scantling have names to where we know them. You know what I mean? He's that type of guy, but he's getting older too. And so in a situation like that, I probably am just going to see how this plays out this year. You've already went to the NFC Championship twice and lost, and then just in the past with Rodgers, I mean, outside of the year that he did win the whole thing, he gets his ass whipped, or in the Seattle case, blows a lead. And so, I would probably just let this ride out. You already drafted Love. I would try and get some confidence for him. And that's where a good GM comes into play. You just got to know it's over with. And it doesn't matter how untradeable his contract is, because he's Aaron Rodgers and he is that good. Unlike the situation with the Falcons, even if I wanted to get rid of Matt Ryan, it was going to be impossible to trade Matt Ryan. His cap hit's too high and his production's only going down. It's going to be hard to get rid of that.
If I'm trading Aaron Rodgers to a potential contender, I want 2 2s. Excuse me, I want 2 1s and 3 2s. I want a bunch of 2s.
And it don't have to be Khalil Mack or nothing, but I want a player too. I need to start off that defense.
That's fair. I was listening to a podcast today, Move the Sticks with Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah. I enjoy them, and they were talking about after about pick 15 to 18, from about 20 to 50, 52,
about the same value.
Same player. So losing late ones isn't that bad if you can load up on 2s. But go ahead.
I was gonna say, and it's damn near the same thing in the NBA. I mean, think about it. Fuck do the Lakers care about trading 3 first-round, 4, 5 first-round picks for Anthony Davis? What? Are you kidding me? A generational player, a guy that proved that he can be a winner even in college, being the best It's the only time Cal's won a national championship. He proves that he can win. He's an elite defensively, and offensively he had developed so well to where he's a 28 guy, 28 a game, and he's gonna give you 10. He's gonna rebound too. It was a no fucking brainer for the Lakers.
Yeah, because
who cares about picking 27th through 30th in the NBA draft? Who the fuck are you getting there?
They're not making the Lakers roster ever.
Well, yeah, they're called Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner, I think, is on his third team. I mean, come on now. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, if you're a contender, I don't give a fuck. I'll give you get the next 10 years. I mean, seriously, if it brings us 2 championships, I'm fair game.
Yeah. And you know what? If I'm in LA, I don't care about how we draft. We can always attract free agents.
But to go back to just the Green Bay thing, the issue with Green Bay is too, why did you draft Jordan Love?
Why did you move up to get Jordan Love?
Why? Why though? Why? That's why after this year, I do think this is it for Rodgers there. I just hate that they're not going to even get anything for him. That's what makes it a little bit worse, because it's just like, not only did you piss this guy off, but now he's going to get to walk for free.
Yeah, like you could have just moved him at the beginning.
Like even with the Hawks, let's look at the Atlanta Hawks in that era, that Joe Johnson team. Gosh, his name is coming. Who's our GM that got fired for the Luol Deng comments?
The Duke guy. Man. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Start telling the story and I'll find his name.
All right. So with him,
Danny Ferry.
Danny Ferry. He did a masterful job of getting rid of Joe's contract. That shit seemed unmovable. But the Nets team with veteran players, star presence, we want to win now. They didn't care about how bad Joe's contract was and that he was really only going to be that Joe Johnson for a year. He was still a bucket getter after that, but he was still only going to be that Joe Johnson for 1 year. And so, in a situation like the Hawks, they let Paul Millsap walk. They let Al Horford walk. These were guys that they didn't get anything for, and we weren't even really contended. We were just a good playoff team, a team that, they're gonna be there. You know what I mean?
42 and 40,
and they're not typically a first round out. They're second round out, but they're you got to deal with them. You know what I mean? But they didn't get anything for that, and so I just think that you got to know when to cut your losses as a GM, and feel bad for that Aaron Rodgers situation, because they're not going to get anything. So hopefully they win it.
You talk about
you run it back.
You talk about cutting your loss. Talk about cutting your losses at the GM.